I'm grateful to my honourable friend for raising the issue of aid workers. The widespread loss of life of aid workers is just a travesty. It's unprecedented. And I would remind colleagues of Chapter 2 of the Conduct of Hostilities of the Legal Practitioners on Humanitarian Law, and it says distinctions lie at the heart of international humanitarian law. It requires parties to armed conflict to distinguish at all times between civilians and combatants, and of course that includes aid workers.
Good evening, people. Let's brew this thing. Tuesday, Brews Day, here on my left eye. Very warm welcome to the stream, everybody. This is the Brews at 10. I'm your host, Lefty. Very warm welcome to everybody here. Clive Lewis's face spoke 1,000 words, though, really, didn't it? Yeah, won't be like that little intro. Right, people, is there anybody there? There's no one in the chat. Yeah, this is the first stream of the new week. Lots to get through as well. Of course, shortly before I came onto the stream, there was the awful tragic news of the death of Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath singer, national treasure as well, who's unfortunately died from at the age of 76, just a fortnight after his last gig, his farewell concert at Villa Park in Birmingham. So yeah, Solidari-Tea to Ozzy and all of his fans this evening. He was a political lyricist at times. If anyone's not familiar with his works or Black Sabbath works, I suggest having a read of the lyrics to War Pigs. Great stuff. Politicians hide themselves away. They only started the war. Why should they go out to fight? They leave that up to the poor. That's just a couple of lines from that. Check the rest of it out. R.I.P. Ozzy. Good evening to Odin and Emma, who joining us in the chat. Great to see you this evening. Please hit thumbs up as you join us, people. That'd be awesome. Yeah, tons to get into tonight. I had quite a bit of stuff, and then there was some developing news not too long before I came on the stream as well, so I'll try and cram it all in. I'll be talking about some topics at length, and others I'll just have to sort of whiz through. So plenty of clips and articles and stuff to come up, people. Just get warmed up here first. As well as hitting the thumbs up button, please make sure that you do give us a share around social media and give us a follow whilst you're there, preferably on Blue Sky, if you've moved over there yet. Already, I should say. So it's at my left eye UK, UK in caps. Please do give us a follow. Also on Twitter and Mastodon. Heady's with us also. How do you brew this fine evening? So yeah, what's amongst this myriad, this plethora of stories that I've got for you tonight? We've had David Lammy in the House of Commons trying to defend the UK's lack of action, I should say, on getting a ceasefire in Gaza, getting aid to people. He's pretty much cornered, not just morally, but legally as well. If we take a look at that, there's been a major overhaul of Britain's water system, or there is going to be one. But the main part of that is that the regulator has just been completely tanked now. It's done. It's out the window. It's gone. It's going to be replaced by something else. But when you do hear that word reform, you really should be pretty apprehensive, shall we say. So there's going to be that coming up. The latest on Gaza, including protests. I put a video out earlier. I don't know if any of you caught that while it was still members only, about Kate Nash's protest. A bit of an update on that Royal Opera House protest as well. So there's that plus more, including a strange story which ties in with Gaza surrounding which ties into politics, I should say, surrounding actor George Clooney and the American rock duo Tenacious D. More on that later. Keir Starmer was also in front, excuse me, in front of a select committee this week. A bit about that, as well as another old Trump clip that surfaced, which is pretty telling. And probably some developing news as well. anything could happen in the next roughly couple of hours. Morbius has joined us as well. How you doing, Mo? How do you brew? I can see we've got a full house of members in the chat, so I'll take that opportunity to thank all of the members. Thanks to every single one of you. More, thanks for checking out that recent video as well. Yeah, just back to members. I really do appreciate all of the support. You can join this list of people, it's just 99 pence. Perks for you to enjoy, including members' first viewings of videos, as we were just speaking of. Thank you to everybody who's renewed memberships recently as well as gifted to others. Other ways you can support the channel on this live stream, if you're watching live, is with super chats. Also, if you're watching back later, super thanks are open also. And if you don't have access to pay via YouTube, there's a Buy Me a Coffee page. I should say thank you as well to those of you who've bought coffees for the channel recently. Solidari-Tea for that. Believe me, people, you won't have nearly as many videos and streams if caffeine were not a thing. No, Morbius, we don't mean those kind of members. Grief. Good grief. Bit risque that for so early in the stream, wasn't it? So where was I? I was just about to bring you good people into the equation. Let's open the chat, just get the right size logo up, refresh it, and as if by magic, here you are. Welcome to the screen, everybody. Including, as I said, quite a few members already on the stream. Currently sitting on 107 out of a target of 250 is the latest membership goal. So put the ball in the back of the net and join today. Speaking of which, I know some of you might be distracted by sporting goings on. There's a semi-final this evening, isn't there? The Women's Euros. With England's women's team representing against Italy. Try and think of something political to say about that. Oh, there was something. There's been a change of tact with the taking of the knee, as has been happening for some time here now in British football, in Premier League games, international matches as well. Because they've been doing this for so long, there have still been some incidents. They feel that the appropriate bodies haven't done enough, so apparently during this match they didn't take the knee because it's kind of strange. It's become so normal now that they take the knee that the actual shock is when it doesn't happen, so they've had to. It's kind of strange, isn't it? How things can happen like that. So it's become unnoticeable, When it hasn't happened, so reporters or whatever have said, well, you know, you're not taking the knee, why is this going to happen? And they feel that, as I said, the appropriate bodies have to do more. One England player, I believe, this week was subject to disgusting racist comments as well, a member of England women's senior team. And just like the banners and the slogan says, yeah, you do need to kick racism out of football and the rest of society. Of course, we're a far cry from the days of, you know, the old days of when there were, you know, there was proper football hooliganism as a culture in Britain. A lot of it was racially aggravated as well, but there's still a lot more to be done. There really is, and there are a lot of examples. That one I mentioned being the most recent, and it's disgusting. I don't know how people think that anyone thinks that kind of attitude has a place in this time in 2025, but also within the culture of football or sport in general. To think that anyone's going to respect them more just shows the kind of mentality you're dealing with. So anyway, that was as political as I could make that little tidbit there. Speaking of football, I was on the park the other day.
We apologise for the interruption of this broadcast while Lefty goes off on a tangent. He's been given a cup of tea and will be back with you shortly. In the meantime, make sure you've hit the thumbs up button and left a comment down below. Thank you for your patience.
But I sort of stumbled and sort of sliced right across the ball, and anyway, it hit the goose, and I just had to make the apology at the end of the day to the warden, but that's another story. Where were we? What was that noise? Oh, I've got a cup of tea here. Oh, good stuff. Thanks for the random fresh brew. Phil? Right, let's get into stories, people. Yeah, for anybody who hasn't seen that latest video, I'll just get into this Kate Nash festival protest. It seems to have been somewhat overlooked with other things going on. So check this out. She really does basically tease the police and say, you know, what you gonna do? Come up here and arrest me? Kind of thing. And it wasn't spontaneous, is it? It was all prepared, you can see, especially with a custom-made dress and flag and everything. So this is the singer Kate Nash.
I am making a protest today. So this dress that I'm wearing is the protest. It is a collaboration between an artist called Tia O'Donnell and myself. And it's a direct...
Apologies about this. I know there's a lot of bass there on the audio. That's just how it is. I couldn't sort of filter that out. It's you know, handheld phone recording, so it is what it is. But there are subtitles there. Just again, apologies for the audio.
Response to an incident that just happened in Kent. The Guardian reported that a woman in Kent, her name is Laura Merton, was questioned by police for ticking what they said were 2 of 10 suspicions police need to question someone for being affiliated with a recently prescribed terrorist group. She was by herself. She had a sign that said "Free Gaza, Israel is committing genocide." And she was holding a Palestinian flag, which I have here. I have a Palestinian flag on backstage, and I'll say now Israel is committing a genocide. The back of my dress says Free Gaza.
Oh my god, she said the G word and it says Free Gaza on it. Oh my goodness. This person needs silencing immediately. Can't we, you know, she needs to be rendered. What's going on? This can't be allowed to happen.
End the genocide. And if the police want to talk to me,
She said it again.
I'll be in my dressing room, and my tour manager's got a backstage pass for
Yeah, I don't think the police need a backstage pass, but nonetheless, the sentiment remains, yeah, she was inviting the police, if they don't like it, to come up and do something about it, because there's been this already incredible abuse of the law since the prescription of Palestine action. I believe someone else was arrested. They held up a sign, and it had the words Palestine in it, and it also said something about we have to take action on Gaza or something. So they just sort of stitched the two together and said, oh, well, you know, that's you supporting a prescribed group, that is, sir. You're going to have to come with us. You know, it's ludicrous. Ludicrous. So just that bit again where she points that out to.
End the genocide. And if the police want to talk to me, I'll be in my dressing room, and my tour manager's got a backstage pass for it.
But that, just about the backstage pass, that also wasn't an attempt to bribe the authorities. I think that's what Kate Nash's sort of context of her sentiments were there, just to be very clear. And, well, as it turns out, nothing came of it. This was at a festival in Nottingham, just at the weekend. So a few hours before the Royal Opera House protest, I do have a bit of an update for that, which I mentioned in the video as well. But well done to Kate Nash there, and to the people of Nottingham who received that very welcomingly. Great response from the audience, great response from the crowd there, cheering along with Kate Nash's sentiments. And we do, as some of you have already commented on the video and here in the chat, need more public figures to speak out. Now, some of them risk whatever contracts, perhaps potentially their own careers. Gary Lineker's one that's been in the public perception quite a lot recently as well, now former host of Match of the Day. And this is supposed to be a politics channel. All he's done is talk about football. Well, but no, the point remains, more people are coming out. Over in the States, actors and actresses, Susan Sarandon, for example. I've just pulled that one. You know, there are a litany of others, and more are coming into the fray. And I think that we are, if not at a tipping point in public opinion, then certainly approaching one, and the mainstream media will just have to give in, because the weight of public opinion will be that large that they will have to abandon this, I say, subconscious bias, perhaps conscious bias, in their reporting on issues such as Gaza, shall we say. So well done to Kate Nash, and I'll just give you a quick update on that other story. As I mentioned, the Royal Opera House. Do you remember they were grappling for the flag? And the cast member really wasn't for giving up that Palestine flag. I've knocked the music down. Sorry about that. Yeah, and when he turned round and looked at Oliver Mears, the director, trying to take it from him, it really was a sort of power stance. Just, you dare try and take this fucking flag from me, you mother. And when we spoke about this on the Sunday live stream, they were at the time unnamed, but they've now been named as Daniel Perry. So well done, Daniel Perry. And this whole thing of, oh, but would you look at this? They went to a £48,000 a year private school, and now look what they're doing, as though he's betrayed his class or something like that for having taken action. Now I'll tell you, someone who has taken non-violent direct action, myself, you come across people of all walks of life, all parts of society. I've been out and taken action with unemployed people, students, people who run businesses, former airline pilots, yes, members of the upper class, and occasional lower upper class as well. But there's certainly no stereotype, because a lot of the issues in question affect us all, whoever we are, and you only need to have a functioning brain and eyes in your head to know that what's happening in Gaza is an atrocity that should not be allowed to happen. So it doesn't matter whether he went to a £48,000 a year private school or he was state educated. I think this one was from the Observer or the Tory Graph, the particular article. But extra kudos to Daniel there, actually, because even though he was obviously in full regalia, full costume, when he held the flag up during the curtain call at the end of an 11-day run, he also had Free Palestine written on his vest underneath. So, assuming this was taken perhaps afterwards. Yeah, and it was Il Trovatore by Verdi. Il Trovatore, the Troubadour, classic opera. So well done, Daniel. Going back to the events of the weekend, we mentioned further arrests of supporters who defend our juries, and also Audrey White, as we spoke about, was arrested there. You can see Audrey, who's a great campaigner, really nice person as well. Had the pleasure of meeting her once. So she was subsequently released.
Oh, Palestina, free from the river to the sea. Viva, viva, oh Palestina. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Viva, viva, oh Palestina. Free from the river to the sea.
And he says that we're going to bail in Mali near the Etihad. How am I supposed to get...
Sorry about the music. That's all good now. Well done, Audrey. I don't know if you heard at the end there. Just going to quickly talk about what's been reported as bail conditions for Audrey. You won't believe this. First of all, she's restricted from entering Liverpool city centre. She's a Liverpudlian. The second one, which is probably even worse, and talk about an attack on free speech. She's not allowed to talk about Palestine at all for the next 3 months, or else she could risk immediate imprisonment. Now, I'll just give you the opportunity to clean your ears out in case you think you might have misheard that one. She isn't allowed to talk about Palestine at all, to the extent that somebody else there had to tell the crowd what the conditions were. Because even if Audrey mentioned them herself, that would count as breaking them. And she's supposed to get to court outside of Liverpool, for which she'd have to get a train, I believe, or whatever. But no doubt, as you heard there, she'd have to go through Liverpool city centre. Now, I can tell you, I've had bail conditions that I wasn't allowed to go somewhere before for a certain amount of time. But on the occasions that I have, there is the exception that you're allowed to travel through there as long as it's to make your way to court. So that one should be okay, but banning someone from the city centre where they live for attending a protest and then saying that you can't talk about Palestine at all in any way, shape or form, in any guise, any context, any manner, any form. Yes, I said form twice, but it's worth mentioning twice, people, and that's why we have to keep fighting. But no, seriously, joking aside, nothing but respect for Audrey's solidarity there. She gained infamy during an in-person encounter with Keir Starmer, didn't she? When he first became leader of the opposition. Yeah. If only I had that clip to hand for us all to enjoy now and just savour Starmer taking that roasting from Audrey. That'd be sweet.
Just say that I don't know how you got the guts to come to this city after you have been being interviewed and doing columns for the Sun newspaper, after the way we as a city were abused, and after the way we as a city, the Hillsborough victims, were abused by that paper, and you've come here. Secondly, you lied to us about uniting the party. I'm still a Labour Party member, and you've expelled and witch hunted in the most vicious way I've ever seen in my lifetime. And I've been a member of the Labour Party for a long, long time. You have absolutely said you had 10 pledges, you were going to carry on the Corbyn legacy. And ever since, you've done nothing but distance yourself from the ideas which tens of thousands of people joined the Labour Party to support. And all you've done is feed into the Tory ideology of not supporting strikes, of carrying on with the privatisation of our health service. You're doing everything to feed into a Tory victory. Because we may as well have a Tory if we have a person like you who lies to the party. It's dishonesty.
Thank you very much.
And our health service is going right
much.
down the pan. And you have a big responsibility, the working class people of this country.
Can you move back, please?
Excuse me. You're just, don't be getting physical with
No, I'm
me.
not touching you.
He's getting physical.
Can you move back then,
You're
please?
touching my breast.
Can you move back, please?
Now move back.
No, can you
I want to go to the toilet.
Toilet's over that way.
Brilliant. Thanks to Art of Resistance for that reminder of that wonderful moment in political history. It's great to see when they actually get stood up to. And he was like a rabbit in the headlights, wasn't he, Starmer? He hates speaking to the public, let alone confrontations like that. It's usually the case that his mouth remains firmly shut, and then the security just step in. It was the same situation with that famous get out of my pub incident. I don't know if you've ever seen that clip. Was that even when Starmer taken over that get out my pub one? Can't around the same time. Really great stuff. Solidarity, Audrey. Solidarity as well to everybody who faced arrest over the weekend, including, again, dear friends of mine who took action with Defend Our Juries. I've got an update regarding that organisation. Obviously, their protests taking part of their prescription of Palestine action, so there was an appeal against the prescription. The leaders of Pal Action were in court. Declassified UK did a really great independent journalism piece on this, and they were keeping everybody up to speed with the events throughout the day. It really was really great to stay informed. Essentially, I'll just say how it concluded though. Judge Chamberlain withheld judgment until next week. There'll be a further hearing on Wednesday the 30th of July when the full judgment will be handed down to both parties. It wasn't clear whether a ruling would come through before the end of the day. It was pretty tense for a while, but they weren't able, I should say, to deliver that. I said the D. Oh god. Oh no. No. That's in the proper context though. The judicial context of when the verdict comes out, so it's legit. I said the D word. More, thanks a lot for the gifted membership. Solidari-Tea. Well, I'll scan through my bookmarks. I'll come back on to Gaza in just a while. One or two domestic things to get through first though. Okay, so Keith was up in front of a committee this week. I'm going to take a look at one particular grilling that he got. There were quite a few good examples to choose from, to be perfectly honest. Debbie Abrahams made some seriously straightforward points to Starmer, and again we're going to see him get a grilling, this time from one of his own MPs in a select committee.
This was poor legislation. It was designed to save money for the Treasury by cutting support to sick and disabled people. It was so far removed from Labour values of fairness and social justice, let alone compassion and common decency. I have to say I felt ashamed. So what are the values that will underpin the government?
His own MPs feel ashamed. I'm sure that she doesn't say that lightly. I believe that she's one who voted against the, obviously, otherwise this would be rank hypocrisy. If she had have voted for the welfare reform, i.e. cuts, but she's highlighting just how ripped off her own MPs feel and the British public feel about how all we've got is touring the Red Rosette.
In terms of the policy making going forward, so that we avoid the harms, the potential harms and the real harms that people are going to face, disabled people, vulnerable people are going to face.
I think this is a really important Labour value. I think the fact that there are nearly 1 million young people out of work, not earning or learning, is a huge challenge for our country. None of us should be accepting of a system that operates like that. It is broken, it needs to be mended.
Specifically talking about disability welfare cuts, Keith, oh God, yeah, isn't it a tragedy that there are 1 million young unemployed people out there? We've got to do something about, it's on your watch now. It's been on his watch for over a year and a month. So, cut the crap. The look at what we inherited line didn't wash in the first place, but it's becoming increasingly stretched month on month. And what was that about Labour ideology? No, I think, as Debbie Abrahams pointed out there, this is very far removed from Labour principles, Labour core values. We're talking about core, we're not talking about fringe arguments here, okay? We're not talking about perhaps neoliberals arguing with Momentum, for example, or whatever faction it is. Wholesale, if you signed up, surely one of your core principle values is the protection of the most vulnerable in our society, and certainly not to burden those same people with unbelievable, what's the word I'm looking for? Dickensian, this is Ebenezer Scrooge type stuff, really.
All the evidence is that if you're on benefits and out of work at that young age, the likelihood of ever getting into good, well-paid, secure employment goes down for the rest of your life. 1 in 10 working age people out of work and 3 million locked out for health-related reasons. It is no wonder that almost everybody says the system is broken and it's got to be changed. And I'm glad that we've started the process of change. I'm not going to pretend that we got everything right in recent weeks, but we do need to reform the system, and we should take that on as a Labour argument, in my view.
Couldn't agree more. Everybody agrees that reform needs to happen. It is a broken system. Reform does not, you mentioned right at the beginning in your introduction, reform does not mean cuts to household incomes of already struggling households. We must do better, Prime Minister. You mentioned about reducing poverty. This had the potential of actually increasing it.
Yeah. It's just, pure gaslighting.
I'll leave it there.
That's pretty much the end of the grilling / inquiry. But it's unbelievably, embarrassingly poor response from Keir Starmer to the British public. He knows this is going to go out. He knows that these are broadcasted. It's not behind closed doors yet. Not a lot of people watch it. It's, you know, committees and stuff. It's a bit politically nerdy and whatnot, but you find out a great deal about what's going on if you do happen to check them out. So well done, Debbie Abrams. You know, I'd say the same to you as I would Zara Sultana, Jeremy Corbyn. If you really do have those core values, then get out of there. Get signed up with a different party. Bloody Starmer, bloody. Starmer wasn't the only member of the cabinet who faced a grilling, not in the committee, this time in the Commons. David Lammy as well, but I'll come on to that in just a bit, because that's going to tie in with the Gaza updates. Just a couple of other domestic things to chew over. I'll quickly barge through these, but I did want to mention them because it's been, well, a water sector review, as it's been known. Also known as more ways to keep bills up, regulation down, and we're certainly not going to nationalise it. Oh no, don't come up with the obvious solution. And there are, well, in this article, 5 key takeaways, so I'll just use that to summarise what's happened. See what's happening, people. Apparently everyone's to blame, but here's the kicker. Ofwat gets the boot, so that's the regulatory body. Ofwat is going to be replaced by something else. That probably won't be as stringent. So there's going to be one regulator alone and a single water regulator in Wales instead, rather than being split by economic and environmental goals, according to this. And apparently, someone's seen a bit of an elephant in the room. The water companies need to stop marking their own homework. Yeah, do you think that might be a good idea? Guess who came up with the ludicrous figure for how much it would cost to nationalise the water industry? Oh, just check my notes. It was the water companies. It was the water companies themselves. Fact of the matter is, it costs zero. Zero. Nothing. Zilch. Nada. Niente. Bupkis. They're the same as what's in the background. Well, not in the background. Where's the music, Philip? Thank you. Oh, yeah. Producer, he doesn't speak. So that it's confirmed, no nationalisation, but more controls over company owners. Okay. The campaign group Surface Against Sewage accused the report of putting lipstick on a pig. The review utterly fails to prioritise public benefit over private profit, said Chief Executive Charles Bristow. In Wales, the water industry is private, but not for profit. There's some people swimming in shite. And oh, another kicker. Oh no, this is... So after everything, you know, when it comes to the crunch, when the chips are down at the end of the day, the litany of bombastic speeches that Starmer's given about lowering bills, they're going to go up. They're going to go up. Last year, regulators approved increases of 26% to the average bill, so that's going up by over a quarter. The problem comes when you suddenly go from not investing for a long period to massive investment in order to catch up, said Sir John someone. That really is what's driven huge bill increases that we've seen. So over time, I think we're going to see the cost of producing water rise. That's inevitable. You see, capitalism's so good, people, that it can't it can't provide you with something that falls out of the sky for fucking free. That's how good the system is. And it's going to cost you more for this stuff that falls out of the sky just via natural cycles, some of which are recently accelerated by climate change. But aside from that, natural weather patterns that bring rain. Lots for words. Lots for words. Things may take a long time to get better. It's so complicated, isn't it? Yeah. It's like undoing the tightest knot, the most difficult conundrum. It's like doing a Rubik's Cube blindfolded. Isn't it? There's definitely no simple, cost-free, effective solution that would not only bring people's bills down, increase the cleanliness of the water supply, and decrease the amounts of dumpage into the rivers, seas, lakes and other bodies of water around these British Isles. What could it be? What could it be? Yeah, just nationalise it. Just nationalise it. There are still 83 recommendations waiting to be assessed. And let's see if Labour decide to accept any of the recommendations. But that's very bad. That's very, very poor. No wonder Fergal O'Brien's so pissed off. Not Fergal O'Brien. Fergal Sharkey. Right, let me know what you think about that in the chat, or if you're watching back later on, let me know in the comments. Just a quick reminder, people, bit of self-promotion, please make sure that you've hit thumbs up on the stream, giving us a share around your social media and all of that stuff. You might want to consider joining the channel with a membership for just 99p. Hit the join button down below or follow the link in the channel description. You can also donate to the channel's Buy Me a Coffee page. You'll find a link in the channel description there. Also, and if you're watching back later on, please do consider using super thanks or super chats if you are currently listening live. I think that'll just about do it. Floor Snake, great to have you with us. Oh, did England win? Is that right, Doc? Great to see you as well, by the way, Doc. We won 2-1, did we? Spoiler alert. Yeah, I'll go and watch the Brews at 10. He won't mention the football. He never does. Oh, okay, so... Well, whether it was a spoiler or not, let's move on. Sorry to anybody who was going to watch the highlights. Maybe later. What was I going to talk about? I guess we'll go over to the House of Commons and Lammy's grilling from earlier on today. There's some really good points actually. He absolutely sprawls on a fucking pin trying to dodge the issue, trying to sound intellectual. Long time viewers will know that I have a certain theory about David Lammy and the way that he answers questions, the way that he speaks now, especially on the subjects of Gaza. He has a certain pace and a certain tone that he thinks makes him sound like he's intellectual as well as actually answering the question and addressing the point, whereas it's just an absolute load of shite. And you saw how Clive Lewis was responding to that with his facial gestures at the top of the live stream with that little clip. Shout out to Paul Saniforth. Yeah, I think I got the name right there for that one, by the way. Also shout out again to the Agitator for the Yvette Coupery test screen. That wasn't one of mine. But where was I? Yeah, Lammy. Mr. Speaker, the slower I speak when I answer a question, and one word will be highlighted in my response to that. And that's pretty much what he does. Not the greatest impression, but the sort of pace and stuff. You'll hear more from that in these responses. And he's trying to act as though we're doing something about what is now becoming increasingly obvious, the issue of starvation being used as a weapon in the famine. Also, the issue of weapons and complicity, which really is what's got him backed into a corner, you see. He's at the behest of the lobbies, but also international law is what it is, and we're still doing surveillance runs and things like this. They might have banned some weapons, some arms trade, but not all, and so on and so forth. But it'll do anything but issue a full embargo and full sanctions. So watch this as he sprawls around like a mad bastard.
The IDF has driven Palestinians out of 86% of Gaza, leaving around 2 million people trapped in an area scarcely over 20 square miles. Whatever this Israeli government might claim, repeated displacement of so many civilians is not keeping them safe. In fact, it's quite the reverse.
I will just issue a quick spoiler alert if you're expecting some sort of watershed moment where Lammy recognises, reality and uses the G word. That's not coming. That's not coming. He'll use every other adjective in the book. Horrendous and disgusting and so on and so forth. Anything but the G word, the same way that any action he's going to take is everything but the action that's required. And the same goes with the definition of what's going on, which is required by someone in his position, Foreign Secretary. So he's it's an insult to us, and it's an insult to that position itself, not to call it for what it really is.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, the new Israeli aid system is inhumane, it's dangerous, and it deprives Gazans of human dignity. It contradicts long-established humanitarian principles.
Laws, so it's laws, not just principles, David. Laws, which makes it a jet. Come on, you know the word.
It creates disorder. Hamas is now exploiting.
No, not disorder.
With distribution points reduced from 400 to just 4. It forces desperate civilians, children among them, to scramble unsafely for the essentials of life. It's a grotesque spectacle.
Not grotesque, not another G word. You're getting closer. That's not grotesque. The other G word, the legal one. About using starvation as a weapon, David. I'm sure you must know it. I'm sure it's on the tip of your tongue. Now count how many words, how many adjectives he's used thus far. I make it about half a dozen, bar the actual one that's required.
A terrible human cost. Almost 1,000 civilians have been killed since May, seeking aid, including 100, Mr. Deputy Speaker, this weekend alone. There are near daily reports of Israeli troops opening fire on people to access food. Israeli jets have hit women and children waiting for a health clinic to open.
How did the jets know where to look? David, how did they know? Did they have some quality surveillance? Perhaps provided by spy planes from the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland? David?
An Israeli drone has struck down children filling water containers, which Israeli officials blamed on a technical error.
A technical error? So, is he going to call that out for what it is? Because it definitely wasn't a technical error, was it, people?
Whoopsie daisy!
The Israeli government must answer what possible military justification can there be for strikes that have killed desperate, starving children? What immediate actions are they taking to stop this litany of horrors? And what will they do to hold those responsible to account?
I'm frankly astonished.
You could hear someone in the background there keep saying they're doing it on purpose, and there are some you can see from this establishing shot, whatever you want to call it here, this particular shot disappoints me because it highlights just, remember there are 650 members of Parliament, just how few of them are actually at this. I don't want to say usual suspects, but there are some people that you would expect to be there. For example, Jeremy Corbyn, for example, you'll notice Clive Lewis was there, obviously, highlighted himself, sat not far away from where David Lammy was earlier, amongst others. But considering the way I think this situation is going to be looked back on in history, you'd think that nearly every single MP would want to have their say in this, but the point is a lot of them are paid to be silent on the matter.
The statement of the Foreign Secretary. At a time when we've got daily lynchings and expulsions on the West Bank, dozens being murdered as they beg for aid, I'm just beyond words, really, at his inaction and, frankly, complicity by inaction at what is going on. He himself said there's a massive prison camp being constructed in the south of Gaza. He knows that leading genocide scholars from across the world now are ringing the alarm bells, and yet he has the temerity to show up to this house and wave his checkbook as if it's going to salve his conscience.
Again, I think even though he's making a fairly decent point here, just say it like it is, because these facilities or whatever, it's a concentration camp by definition, whichever way you cut it. There's no ifs or buts, there are no exceptions. In the legislation, contrary to what Israel believes, there isn't an asterisk after every one, and when you look at the key or the index at the back later on, it says except Israel, because something hostages, or because something do you condemn this date. How stupid do they think that we are? But please, humanitarian zone, yeah, right.
Can he not see that his inaction and, frankly, cowardice is making this country irrelevant? Can he also not see the personal risk to him, given our international obligations, that he may end up at The Hague because of his inaction?
He should. And I'm not being hyperbolic here. I'm not being hyperbolic. I think with situations like this, you have to forget that this is the country which you live in sometimes, and imagine what you'd think if you saw other countries doing the same thing. But then you have to drag it back and think, oh my goodness, this is happening in my name, which makes it even worse. Yeah, I don't know where I was particularly going with that one. Just wanted to throw that one out there. I don't know if any of you people feel the same way about that. But just get back a couple of seconds.
At The Hague?
Yeah, about ending up at The Hague. Yeah, I think it certainly should end up there. We know why. We know the reasons why. And that's another reason he's backed into a corner. So, you wake up in the morning, unfortunately, you're David Lammy. I don't know, it's some sort of curse. You should have probably left the ancient artifact where it was and just tell the British Museum that you didn't find it. Whatever. So, if you've been cursed and you wake up one day as David Lammy, you've got Keir Starmer wanting you to do one thing, you've got the weight of public opinion wanting to do another. I would say the Israeli lobbies, but that and Starmer, you can lump them in together as one and the same. And then you have the law, which obviously has a lot more weight from public opinion. He's obviously got his seat to look after his constituency, but he really is in a pickle, David Lammy. There's certainly no way that he can please all sides. That's for sure. I think we've had a raid, just whilst I was in the middle of that little side rant there, from Kevin Logan. So welcome to everybody who's joining us over from Kev's page. Please hit thumbs up on the stream as you come in. We were just going over some highlights of David Lammy's appearance in the House of Commons today. And we were just up to the bit where we were talking about he should go to The Hague. So let us know what you think about that in the comments if you're just joining us. Thanks a lot, Solidarity to Kevin Logan, do insist any My Left Eye viewers go over, check out and subscribe to Kevin Logan. Great stuff. Let's crack on through more of this video. It's just a few highlights. I should give a shout out to Politics Joe as well for this highlights clip. Let's crack through.
Because of his inaction. And finally, really frankly, an appeal to the Labour backbenchers. We can't get your leadership to change their minds. Only you can, if you organise and insist on change.
I understand the fury that the right honourable gentleman feels, but I have to tell him.
Notice the tone and the pace, just as I was mentioning. I'll just say again quickly for those just joining us on a raid. He thinks that the way he slowly paces his responses, there's this very thoughtful, deep, pensive look on his face, and occasionally he will just shout one random word louder than the other, as if he's having some deep philosophical moment. But no, he's avoiding the question like the plague and sprawling on a pin instead of addressing the elephant in the room.
Tell him that it demeans his argument when he personalises it in the way that he does, and it is not...
Now, in this instance, because he said you could end up in The Hague, which is a fact. David Lammy now doesn't want to answer any of the question at all because he's personalised it. Aren't you personally the Foreign Secretary? Isn't this personally your responsibility? Speaking of responsibility, complicity also comes into that realm as well, David. So to just ignore those very serious issues that he brought up on the fact that he got a little bit personal, no, that was a pathetic dodge.
It's unbecoming and not something that the House expects, particularly of most...
I think the Speaker of the House can deal with, the Deputy Speaker, I should say, in this case, can deal with those matters herself, David. So if it's unbecoming to the procedures in that House, I'm pretty sure that the Deputy Speaker would intervene. Or do you think that you're the Foreign Secretary and the Speaker in some sort of bizarre combined role?
More senior members.
Earlier today, then, 31 countries put out a powerful message. The war must end now. There must be aid going into Gaza, unrestricted. The hostages must be released, and all parties must...
I should have warned you to put on sunglasses before you look at Emily Thornberry, even though she does make some good points. Even, you know, she went into Camp Starmer, didn't she, of course? But yeah, I should have just pre-warned you there. I think she's had her hair done to boot to match the suit. I don't think that's a particular coincidence, but we'll hear what Emily Thornberry had to say.
Must uphold international
Get the
law.
factor 50 on.
Sent to Israel, and by return, this powerful message was rejected. It was denounced by Israel as disconnected from reality.
Shocking.
So what now? So what now? In that statement, the 31 nations said we are prepared to take further action to support an immediate ceasefire and political pathways to security and peace for Israel, Palestine and the entire region. So what are we going to do, may I ask?
Just before Thornbury carries on with the question, thanks a lot for the gifted membership there, Dominique. I do need to change the total, actually. I didn't do that. Well, it's more than a few months ago now when we had one from Morbius as well, so I'll put them up to 109. That's legit. It's not a cheat. This is not rigged. Thanks again, Dominique Jones, Solidari-Tea, for that gifted membership.
And does that include the final recognition of Palestine?
Well, it has to if it's going to be a two-state solution.
The Right Honourable Lady is
doing it
right
again.
To call into question.
Speaking very slowly and then randomly saying one word.
So quickly, the Israeli government rejecting the advice of its friends and 31 countries coming together, horrified by those who are losing their life, simply reaching out to get aid and humanitarian care. She, of course, references the debate that exists in relation to recognition. Let me tell her that we will be working with our French colleagues who are focusing the upcoming conference particularly on two states and how we get to two states. And as you would expect, the UK will play its part. On the broader issues, I hope and pray that we get a ceasefire, and of course that will lead to further activity as we head towards UNGA.
I mean, this statement we have from the 25 or 31...
Well, this recognition of a Palestinian state, it was hinted at by Macron on a recent visit, wasn't it, that the UK and France would, in tandem, simultaneously, announce that Palestine was a state, because if you're going to harp on about a two-state solution, then obviously that includes recognising Palestine as a state. Otherwise it's a complete oxymoron.
Partners. It takes us no further forward. So we're prepared to take further action to support an immediate ceasefire. It's action that people are wanting, not more repetition of we call for, we demand, we urge.
Yeah, and he's right. One thing that frustrates me the most watching Lammy speak is that he acts, you know, so powerless that he doesn't have his hands on the levers of power to be able to do anything at all, and we're just passive observers in all of this. It really, really does get to me. Because when it comes to other global situations, we're happy to pile money into it. We're happy to pile our armed forces into whatever endeavours we're setting out into. Unfortunately, a lot of the time they turn out to be with ulterior motives, but that doesn't take away from the fact that we do have more power than David Lammy's letting on. He personally has more power. This is his job, and look at Clive Lewis again there. Really was unimpressed by David Lammy's responses earlier.
We want action, and this isn't action. We've had this so many times before. We've got this terrible humanitarian crisis, forcible transfer of civilians, the starvation by Israel, replacing... How can it be that we have a situation where IDF are firing at children, systematically going for head, stomach and testicles before their sport? And
yeah, that was correct, what you heard there. In fact, I've got the original testimony from one of the doctors who was reporting on that to come up just after this compilation clip as well. Pretty much the way that you can summarise what's happening to the civilian population, especially children, is some sort of demented, twisted, fucked up version of the Hunger Games or Battle Royale or something like that. This is a literal game that the IDF are, air quotes, playing with the Palestinian population, or rather I should say that they're imposing upon, because this really isn't a game.
We have Rafah razed to the ground and this euphemistic humanitarian city being constructed, which the former Prime Minister of Israel called a concentration camp. When are we going to take the appropriate action to bring about comprehensive and full trade and arms embargo and concentrate the mind of Israel? Because nothing else is working. They're not listening. They're getting away with murder every single day.
Like, fuck, there is somebody in that house with more than a minuscule amount of grey matter in their cranium between their ears. Well said. Very well said. And finally, to call it a concentration camp like it is, it's not a humanitarian zone, and to say what's actually required, excuse me, in terms of a full embargo and full sanctions, not just tiptoeing around the edges as we're doing at the moment, and strong words and statements and gestures, because words are nowhere near enough and haven't been for some time.
The Honourable Gentleman clearly didn't listen to a word that I said, but I'm sure that the Foreign Secretary did.
The Speaker randomly changed to somebody else. I'm sure it was the Deputy, Madam Deputy Speaker, earlier, wasn't it? Did it go on for that long?
I understand my honourable friend's frustration, and he has been consistent with that for a very long time. And as I've said, I regret that we are not at a place where we currently have a ceasefire, despite the international community that calling for one and the pressure that exists. And he's right. What we are seeing at the moment is an abomination. And I would join him with those.
Use the G word.
Last week in Bogota, the Hague Group of Nations met, led by South Africa. Those nations pledged to support the ICC, to support the ICJ, to refuse all arms sales to Israel, to refuse the facilitation of arms to Israel, to refuse anything that enhances the occupation of Gaza and the West Bank. In short, global opinion supporting the Palestinian people. Will the British government also sign the Hague Declaration and support those group of nations determined to bring the world's attention to this, to end the genocide that's going on and the occupation that continues?
Well, Lammy certainly doesn't like that word Hague, does he? Let's see what his comeback is to this one.
Well, I will speak to my South African counterpart about that issue, but can I say to him, we here in the UK support the ICC, and indeed it receives funding from British taxpayers and the ICJ.
Okay. Well, when you go over to South Africa to meet your counterpart, as you said, or wherever you do meet them, they might perhaps remind you that they were one of the instigators of the charges against Israel. Might I also ask you if your respect for the ICC will involve you perhaps going and putting the irons on Benjamin Netanyahu the next time you go over to meet him. That is, if he sees you, because there have been a couple of occasions where he's slapped you on the wrist by slamming the door in your face when you've gone halfway around the world to kiss his arse, only to turn tail and come straight back empty-handed. But should you get in next time, David, are you going to enforce said arrest warrant, as every signatory state is legally obliged to do so? Or are you going to go there perhaps to, you know, talk turkey and briefcases and bank accounts?
We also stand against what we are seeing in the West Bank and what we are seeing in Gaza. So much of what he has said, I would also say, is consistent with UK policy.
If we are seeing children being killed for getting vital food and aid, we must ask ourselves, what more can we be doing? If we are seeing children being manipulated at malnutrition, if we are seeing children starving Foreign Secretary, I asked, where is the real action from this government to stop this so that more children can live?
Well, I hear the strength of my honourable friend's conviction and views. When she asks for more action, we are taking action. We have taken action every single day in office. British taxpayers are funding the alleviation of suffering. Is it enough? No. Have we brought this war to an end? We have not brought this war.
Tell us about the spy planes. Has that been happening every day? Tell us about the F-35 parts. Where are they going to?
And I have to tell her the UK will be unable to do that unilaterally. That is why we are working with partners internationally. I have done that every single day in office. Me raising my voice will not bring this war to an end, and I lament that and I regret that. But
you raising your voice isn't going to convince me or anyone else, David. We can see the action or lack of that this country's taking. We're appalled by it. We're appalled by the things that are allowed to take place in our name, and what's worse, we're helping the perpetrators.
Am I sure the UK government is doing everything in its power? Yes, I am.
Did you hear that at the end? No, you are not. And he gets a bit dramatic and gesticulates quite a lot at the end there, doesn't he?
And I regret that. But am I sure the UK government is doing everything in its power? Yes, I am.
No, you are not. And I'm not certain that you are either. Far from it. David Lammy. Sprawling on a pin in the House of Commons earlier, people. What do you think about that? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments if you're watching back later. Good people, make sure you hit thumbs up on the stream. Oh, that was a bit of a blood boiler. I'll just have a quick moment or two to regroup. Yes, Mo, good point. He is a faker. He's, you know, the Oscar goes to somebody else. That was all completely put on. I know when someone's trying to sell me a lie. And that performance from Lammy absolutely reeks of it. Thank you very much for your shows of solidarity with the watermelons and Palestine flags in the chat, people. Politics Clive, great to see you. Overcompensating body language. That was the, I don't know, maybe political equivalent of a 5-year-old having a tantrum on the floor because they don't want it to be bedtime. But it is bedtime. So, one of the things I think people need satisfaction on is some sort of timeline for this thing that we're doing with France, of officially declaring Palestine as a state. Again, another reason that Lammy's backed into a corner there is, in doing so, he immediately incriminates himself for various crimes. Because you see, if there's no official victim, then who's going to get Lammy in The Hague? You know, he's clever. He's clever in that way. He's wily in that manner. Or maybe he might have been offered some sort of protection from certain individuals, who knows. You heard mention in one of the questions this sick game, which I'll let Dr. Nick Maynard explain himself now. I should just say, some of the things you're about to hear might be a little hard on the stomach, shall we say. But he illustrates this game where children are basically treated as target dummies, or whatever you'd like to call them. But I'll just play this because it speaks for itself. So just once again, people, this is a bit heavy. You were warned.
And I've seen, I think, probably a dozen now seriously injured young boys who have been shot in the abdomen or the chest. One of them, a 12-year-old, died on the operating table because the injuries were so severe. And they're all from gunshot wounds. And they all described to me, and their families described to me, and indeed colleagues of mine, Gaza medical colleagues who are looking for food as well, have gone to these same distribution sites and witnessed these injuries as well. They're all describing that they're being shot by Israeli soldiers or by the quadcopters, the drones which are being remotely controlled by the Israelis, and fire, often indiscriminately, often targeted. And I'm seeing we're all seeing a very clear pattern of injuries. I've seen the abdominal injuries, but my colleagues in the emergency room describe a very clear pattern where on particular days they'll see different body parts targeted. So on one day there'll all be abdominal gunshot wounds, on another day there'll all be head gunshot wounds or neck gunshot wounds, on another day there'll be arm or leg gunshot wounds. And on last Saturday there were 4 young teenage boys all brought in very, very rapidly in succession with gunshot wounds to their testicles. So they're clearly being targeted to their testicles. And this is a pattern that we're seeing every day, that these young teenage boys are systematically being targeted. And it's almost as if a game is being played, that they're deciding to shoot the head today and the neck tomorrow and the testicles the day after.
Can you believe this? Like, can it get any sicker? Can it get any more twisted? I don't know what I can add to that, really, but yeah, just what he was saying at the end. So what is it today? Arms, legs, and they keep a tally. Really can't believe it. And this has been also verified from statements from IDF soldiers as well. Another one. Just a moment, people. It's not great, is it? Another one that I heard of was scores of kids are forced to run down a road. You're just going to have to give me a moment while I describe this, people. It really is grotesque. And then it's essentially like, I don't know if you're familiar with the film The Hunger Games, or an older film that was sort of derived from, called Battle Royale, a Japanese film. It's essentially a running of the gauntlet type thing, and they will just randomly, you know, shoot whoever they can. What's the phrase I'm looking for? There's got to be blood sport. That's what it's turned into. Well, that's what it's always been. But now these apparently new games just add another layer of depravity to that whole thing. Beyond words. I'll try and end on a slightly positive note where that's concerned. 2 members of the IDF were arrested in Belgium, I believe, under war crime charges. I think these, I can't confirm this, but if memory serves, these are 2 of the types who basically put the crimes on the TikToks. They film themselves committing these atrocities, and that's one of the things that's led to their arrest. And there's something that at this point I still don't get about that. I'd like to think there was more to it than it just being what they think is gloating, and that they think that the entire world is behind them on this, when that couldn't be further from the truth. And I can't think of anything else to counter that, to be honest. So it can be only that, and it often leads to their downfall. Shout out again there to Dr. Nick Maynard. Wonderful testimony there now. I think that's just about all on Gaza updates at the moment. Just let me quickly check my bookmarks. Just one quick final point I will just quickly say. Apparently the UK is joining 24 other nations in accusing them of drip feeding the aid to Gaza. Again, it's no sort of we're getting together and doing this legislation. It's just more hollow words. That's something that was in the news yesterday. I won't go through the finer points of that. Going to go over to things in the States now. Trumpland, what? What's going down in Trump Town so far this week? Let's see what's happening, people. The batshit crazy world of Donald Trump. Start with this one from Variety magazine. It's a bit of a strange one when you consider the parties involved. So apparently George Clooney, obviously one Hollywood actor, you can see him there on the right, has forced Jack Black to break up his band Tenacious D after a Trump assassination comment. This is what a journalist claims. So this is an article from yesterday, I think. Of course, Jack Black himself is a Hollywood actor. King Kong, one of the latest incarnations of that as well. As the voice for Kung Fu Panda, many other roles. In fact, his group Tenacious D had a film out themselves at one point. So what's all this about? So in a long interview with former President Joe Biden's son Hunter, reporter Andrew Callahan alleged that George Clooney ordered the breakup of the group after Kyle Gass, who's the other member of two-piece Tenacious D. So he asked Thomas Matthew Crooks, who's the alleged attempted assassin of Trump, to aim a little higher next time. Now, to me, that seems like pretty rude. You might hear any number of local stand-up comedians make a similar quip or whatever, but for George Clooney, that was beyond the pale. let's see what's happening. God, this must have been a long interview. 2.5 hours into the video, following a claim that George Clooney's wife Amal was responsible for a full-page advertisement requesting an arrest warrant for Benjamin Netanyahu, Callahan says, "My only really famous Hollywood actor friend is Jack Black. We used to be neighbours in LA, and Tenacious D did a concert in Sydney, Australia, and this is the day after they tried to assassinate Trump, and I guess Jack Black's guitarist or whatever. Blah, 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 blah." Okay. And then he just relays the quote, although he says it's not in verbatim. And then apparently George Clooney kicked off about it. But why would Jack Black just go, yeah, okay then, George Clooney? Because I believe they're lifelong friends as well, the two members of the band. I don't get what's going on. 2.5 hours. So then apparently Biden, this is Hunter Biden, just to remind you, not Joe, went off into a bit of a rant about Clooney. And he says, "I don't have to be fucking nice. Number one, I agree with Quentin Tarantino. George Clooney's not a fucking actor. He's a fucking, like, I don't know what he is. He's a brand." End quote. I wasn't familiar with that take or Quentin Tarantino's take on Clooney, to be honest. Hang on. George Clooney's been in a film with Quentin Tarantino. They were in Dusk Till Dawn, From Dusk Till Dawn together. I don't know if, yeah, Tarantino directed that, or at least produced it. Spurious. Yada yada yada. Yeah, so this back to the original comment though, the aim a little higher next time or whatever. It's just, you know, yeah, ha ha ha. Don't see. I mean, Clooney must be some staunch Trump advocate, really, to take offence to that. Some hyper-Republican, perhaps. I don't know. I don't really follow Clooney's career that much, but if you know better than I do, let me know in the comments. Or in the chat, chatty people. Let's see what's happening there, actually. Rachel Atwood, thanks for joining us. I didn't see that Channel 5 interview more with Hunter Biden. I might have to check that one out. Clooney's besties with Barack Obama? Yeah, I was sure that Clooney wasn't this hyper-Republican or Trump fan, based on, you know, he has made previous statements about politics, of course. Like I said, I don't follow him that closely, but yeah, it's weird. Maybe Hunter Biden's selling a couple of porkies there, or maybe twisting the truth. Hi, is this Jack Black? Yes, this is Jack Black. Were they in any films together that you can think of? That's your late live stream pauser question, your teaser. And lo and behold, a new segment just writes itself. But the question is, can you name a film that has Jack Black and George Clooney in it? I'm not saying that there is an answer. I'm just curious as to whether there is one. So whilst that was loosely based around Trump, of course, that's going to segue into this video that somebody's dug out, and not me. Saw it going around social media. A couple of people shared this, so I'm going to share it with you if you've not seen it already, just in case you think that maybe Trump's only become, you know, such a massive piece of crap in his old age. Someone's pulled up, well, about a 40-year-old clip from him. 30, I should say. Speaking in Congress. Now, this concerns planning permission for casinos. Trump used to be in the casino game. Spoiler alert, he ran his own brand of casinos into the ground. Yeah, he couldn't even run a casino, which has been made fun of at length. However, considering, you know, Europeans, when they first went over to the Americas, more or less all but wiped out the natives as a way of saying sorry and apologising, or giving thanks. Perhaps they should invent some sort of day for that, where they just, you know, they just give thanks. You could have it like just before Christmas-ish. I don't know what you'd call it. Don't know. Let me know your suggestions. But seriously, they were promised land to, that is, the Native Americans were promised land to build casinos on, something which Trump took somewhat of a dislike to, and you're going to hear this awful testimony from Trump in Congress now from back in 1993. Just to prove that he's always been a racist. And in fact, the congressman who he's speaking to responds very strongly to it, and his open racism, which even, you know, 30 years ago was considered completely crass. So let's see what's happening here, people.
Is this you discussing Indian blood? We're going to judge people by whether they have Indian blood, whether they're qualified to run a gaming casino or not?
That probably is me, absolutely. Because I'll tell you what, if you look at some of the reservations that you've approved, you, sir, in your great wisdom have approved, I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like the Indians. Now, maybe we say politically correct or not politically correct. They don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians. And a lot.
Just literally replace politically correct with woke, and it's, you know, exactly the same. Now, let's just go back a bit there, people. Let's say that again.
Absolutely, because I'll tell you what, if you look at some of the reservations that you've approved, you, sir, in your great wisdom have approved, I will tell you right now, they don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like the Indians. Now, maybe we say politically correct or not politically correct. They don't look like Indians to me, and they don't look like Indians to Indians, and a lot of people are laughing at it, and you're telling how tough it is, how rough it is to get approved. Well, you go up to Connecticut, and you look. Now, they don't look like Indians to me, sir.
Thank God that's not the test of whether or not people have rights in this country or not, whether or not they pass your look test.
Depends whether, depends whether or not you're approving it.
Is this one an American? Oh, I don't know. And then they pull out the, you must have seen it in the memes, the Family Guy skin colour reference chart that the police use. But thank God it isn't all down to Donald J. Trump's judgment as to whether someone qualifies as an American or not, or whether they qualify as, air quotes, Indian or not, which is a misnomer, of course. Truly terrible. However, ironically, now, in a way, in the United States of America, they do have to pass that sort of test that, wow, yeah, when you think about it, when you look at what ICE are doing at the moment, ICE, India Division.
No, it's not a question whether I'm approving it. It's not a question whether I'm approving it. Mr. Trump, you know in the history of this country where we've heard this discussion before, they don't look Jewish to me.
Oh, really?
They don't look Indian to me. They don't look Italian to me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a test for whether people could go into business or not go into business, whether they could get a bank loan. You're too black, you're not black enough.
Disgraceful, yeah. Good response there. Sorry, I'm not sure who that particular... my knowledge of American Congress people from the 1990s only stretches so far, I'm afraid. Didn't actually recognise them at first glance, but if you recognise them, let me know. Good response to Trump there. They don't look Indian to me. What a piece of crap. Right, good people, time to give another round of thanks to the members on the channel, and we've added a few this evening actually. Thanks for the gifted memberships. Solidarity, everybody. So yeah, great to see the community growing. Gifted memberships are the preferred way to contribute to the channel, but super thanks are open if you're watching back later. Super chats are open, and there's a Buy Me a Coffee page. Check out the description of the stream or the channel. We're getting towards the end of proceedings for tonight, but do stick around. Because we could go a-raiding. Not Viking style, of course, that'd be horrifically violent and plunderous. But we'll see if we'll redirect and help spread the solidarity this evening. Speaking of raids, just another quick shout out and another thank you to Kevin Logan for the raid this evening. Go and check out Kevin Logan, people. Great stuff. We do have our friends in the States. This space are still live, so I'll be redirecting into there. I'll be joining you for a little while. Please make sure that you hit thumbs up when we get across there, and give this channel a shout out in the chat as well. Okay. Just a final word from me. I'll be back with more Brews at 10s throughout weekdays, so keep an eye out for those. I'll join you, as I said, over on the raid, but if you're watching back later on or whatever, thank you very much for watching this evening. Take care of yourselves. My Lefty, I'll be seeing you soon. Good night. Free Palestine. Power to the people.